count. Prisoners and soldiers will not miss out, it says. And it continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star. Also, just to show you, Tribunal clears Supreme Court Judge Ojwang of misconduct. This is on page 2 of the Star. Clean bill of health, it says here. Tribunal clears Supreme Court Judge Ojwang of misconduct. That is what also we have on the front page of the Star this morning. People Daily is up next, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the People Daily. But before I go there, maybe I can also show you down here what we do have. And those one of us, Okot's family tells Raila Odinga, that is still what is on the front page of the Star there. And one dies in apartment fire along Kiambu Road. A tragedy there. Ruto donates 5 million shillings in 2 church fundraisers. This is still ongoing. All right. That is stashing away, of course, your treasures in heaven. Generous DP. This is what it says here. Graft war activists want Waititu's bond cancelled. That is a story that is tucked away on page 9 of the Star this morning. People Daily is up next, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the People Daily. Top judge cleared in surprise verdict. That is a splash on the front page of the People Daily today. Not guilty. Tribunal formed in March to probe impropriety claims against Supreme Court Judge. That is Supreme Court's Jackton Ojwang says evidence failed to meet threshold for his removal. Recommends he resumes duties immediately. Tribunal formed in March to probe impropriety claims against Supreme Court's Jackton Ojwang says evidence failed to meet threshold for his removal. Recommends he resumes duties immediately. That story continues on page 6 of the People Daily. Uhuru new strategy to retain central grip. President dispatches CSS, PSS to reassure regions residents they have not been abandoned by his Jubilee regime. Also, sugar millers look to Uganda as local cane output dwindles. That is a story that you want to follow on page 16, the business segment of the People Daily this morning. Taifa Leo is up next, and this is what is on the front page of Taifa Leo. Afufuka kabla ya kuzikwa. That is the splash. Aliyetoroka nyumbani miaka 20 iliyopita ajitokeza wakati ibada ya mazishi yake ikiendelea. Right. A spooky story there, but you can follow it on page 2 of Taifa Leo this morning. Also, Ruto akubali kuacha kutangatanga kisiasa. Right. This story continues on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Tamasha za muziki kwa shule na vyuo za tia fora Nakuru. That is on page 4 of Taifa Leo on Vidokezo. Let's buckle down to business a bit and see what also the Business Daily is holding for us this morning. And this is what you're waking up to today. How CEO tipped off Kennel insider trade duo is a splash today. Explosive Capital Markets Authority report reveals details of NSE's 448 million shillings scam. And the story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. These are the faces: Mr. Andre De Simeon, also Mr. Alikan Sachu and Mr. Kunal Bid. This were the faces that were accused about insider trading on Kennel Colby trading. And of course, you can see the breakdown here as well. 59 million shillings or 59 million shares changed hands in the week before the takeover announcement was made. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily. Look at this picture. Maize imports arrive. Trucks carrying imported maize from Tanzania wait to offload their consignment outside Mombasa maize millers yesterday. The driver said 190 kg bag of maize in Tanzania was selling at 2,500, and this is, of course, coming to the country right now amid the debate about maize imports. You can follow the story also inside the Business Daily today. Land rates stop Nairobi's 10 billion shillings tax payment. Right, property rates stopped City Hall's revenue collection as the county raised 10.25 billion shillings in taxes, levies and penalties in the financial year ended June, falling short of the annual target by nearly 5 billion shillings. Data by the county revenue department shows that the Governor Mike Sonko administration collected 2.04 billion shillings land rates, 1.95 billion shillings from parking fees, while business permits generated 1.99 billion shillings. This is what is on the front page of the Business Daily today. Chinese farm close to 250 billion shillings Lamu Port Special Economic Zone deal. Chinese firm close to 250 billion shillings Lamu Port Special Economic Zone deal. Find out the details about this particular deal on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Also on the ticker today, Kirubi gets more cash in big deal. Businessman Chris Kirubi has received an additional 206 million shillings as part of his staggered payments following his sale of the BI of Big Stationery, Lighters and Shavers franchise to French Farm Society BIC or BIC, which owns the brand. You can follow the story on page 7. Also, today's digit is 156 million shillings Kenya's trade deficit with the rest of Africa according to central bank data. And that is tucked away on page 6 of the Business Daily. Needy Kenyans locked out of welfare cash. About 80% of all social protection expenditures goes to the elderly in Kenya, who represent a paltry 4% of the country's population, looking at a huge chunk of the needy from the safety net, according to a World Bank survey. You can follow the story on page 12 and 13 of the Business Daily today. Foreigners net sellers at NSE for months 2. Foreigners net sellers at NSE for month 2, I should say. Foreign investors at the Nairobi Security Exchange met of a second straight month with the market paying the price as all indices closed July in the red. This story continues on page 19 of the Business Daily this morning. Maybe I should cross over just to give you a snippet of what will be happening this week. And this is on page 2 of the Business Daily today. Today, MultiChoice Kenya will be hosting local content producer. MultiChoice Kenya is set to host over 300 local content producers, directors, writers, and consumers as it celebrates new episode of the Pete Show or Pete Show at the Nyali Cinemax. That is Nyali Cinemax, Mombasa County. MultiChoice has created specific channels over the last 3 years that air Kenyan content. Also, StarTimes Kenya to unveil investment in local content development in Kenya. Tomorrow, ERC consultation workshop starts. Also, Kenya-China relations working series brief also will be launched tomorrow. We have as well Nairobi's U.S. Embassy bombing memorial. That will be on Wednesday. On Thursday, swearing-in ceremony for Bomet County Governor will be happening. And Toyota Kenya to host Koroga in Kisumu. That also will be on Thursday. Breastfeeding week ends. Of course, we've been marking the breastfeeding week. The week-long breastfeeding campaigns ends on Thursday. This year, the event marked under Empower Parents, Enable Breastfeeding, themed to encourage family-friendly policies such as paid parental leave, enable breastfeeding, and help parents nurture and bond with their children in early life when it matters most, according to World Health Organization. All that will be happening this week, or some of it has been happening since last week and will be ending on Thursday. Let's see, crossover now to Uganda and lift the Daily Monitor, the Citizen, to see what is holding for us this morning. This is what is happening in Tanzania today. Government Chinese firm in talks on 300-room luxury hotel. If the envisaged project is executed, the giant 5-star hotel will be by far the largest in Tanzania and one of the biggest in Eastern, Central and Southern Africa. This story continues on page 2 of the Citizen today. Also, aviation experts probe fatal Tabora plane crash is another story that you want to follow on page 2 of the Citizen. And Zimbabwe's fury over US sanctions on Tanzania envoy is another story that you want to follow on page 2 of the Citizen if you're waking up this morning in Tanzania. Still there, we have Mwananchi for you as well. And let's see what is on the front page of Mwananchi this morning. Msumari wa mwisho milioni 50 kila kijiji. Msumari wa mwisho milioni 50 kila kijiji. That is what we have on the front page of Mwananchi if you're waking up in Tanzania. Jinsi ndege ilivyosindikiza wanafunzi ilivyopata ajali na kuua wawili is another story on page 2. Baba apoteza fahamu baada ya mwanawe kupata ajali akiendesha gari la RC Mara. That is a story that you can follow us on page 4. And Yanga yaonyesha vifaa vipya kwa sare. That is what is on the front page of Mwananchi. Mashabiki wa Yanga wakishangilia wakati timu hiyo ilipokuwa ikipambana na Kariobangi Sharks ya Kenya katika mchezo wa kuhitimisha tamasha la wiki ya mwananchi kwenye uwanja wa taifa jijini Dar es Salaam jana. That's how they were celebrating. That is on the front page of Mwananchi. In Uganda, we have the Daily Monitor, and this is what you're waking up to. UTL won't be audited. Muhakanizi insists. This is a clash there. Minister Anite insisted yesterday that Mr. Muhakanizi has invited himself into a matter where the president had not sought his participation. You can follow all the details on page 4 of the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. Also, UNEB releases timetable for S4 and S6 exams. Students have been directed to ease themselves before entering the exam room. No candidate will be allowed to leave before the end of exam. Find details of timetable inside. All right, so you can find all the timetable there, and if you want to go to wee-wee, that will not be allowed, so make sure you relieve yourself before you do that. Let's see also what is on the regional extra. LRA survivor offers land for government projects. Also investor UIA in fight over that is Nambani land, and Bobby Wine Music alias Bajo Abitex detained. You can follow the story on page 3 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Let's move on and see what is happening in Rwanda, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the New Times in Rwanda. IMF working with Rwanda on review of tax incentives is a splash today. Follow the story on page 4 of the New Times in Rwanda. The strange case of arrest of ADEPR members in Uganda. Follow the story also on page 5, and mission accomplished. We can see RNP concluding peacekeeping duties in Haiti here. A contingent of 140 Rwanda National Police peacekeepers on arrival at Kigali International Airport from Haiti, where Rwanda has maintained a police peacekeeping contingent on a rotational basis for the last 9 years. The 9th and last Rwanda formed police unit contingent of 140 officers deployed to Haiti in September last year returned home on Sunday aboard a UN chartered plane. This story continues on page 2 of the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda this morning. Also, you need to pick up a copy of the East African for yourself. And this is a splash. Kenya's plan to secure Indian Ocean oil gas. President Kenyatta has kicked off a charm-of-fueled offensive to marshal support at AU and UN. Remember, time is ticking, and of course, we shall be in the chambers of the ICJs very soon. That will be in September the 9th. And this is a charm offensive from President Uhuru Kenyatta. You can follow the full report on page 4. It's all about that marine border dispute that is still ongoing. Also, scarcity amid power glut. Why a vast majority of Africans still live in darkness despite having excess electricity. The full report on page 8 and 9 of East African, and reprieve for EAC-trained lawyers. There's a reprieve here. And Nairobi Court this week described as absurd regulations that bar advocates from the East African community who have not practiced for more than 5 years from being admitted to the role of advocates in Kenya. Justice Weldon Korir, sitting in the High Court, said such rules contradict the vision of the EAC. He was ruling on a case where a Kenyan who studied law in Uganda's Busoga University and was admitted to practice law in Rwanda had been denied enrollment. Justice Korir said that any attempt to block Kenyans who get admitted as advocates in partner states would not only be discriminatory but also absurd. It will imply Kenya has no confidence in the partner states, he ruled. Follow the story on page 3 of the East African this week. Have you grabbed also a copy of the recent copy of the Nairobi Law Monthly? Supreme Court, a perpetual legitimacy crisis is what is on the front page of the latest copy of the Nairobi Law Monthly. And also, hotbed of impunity, how the states sets you up to lose. The story on page 18. Playing devil's advocate, why lawyers can and ought to query judges in court. This is tucked away on page 54 of the recent copy of the Nairobi Law Monthly. We have also the Nairobi Business Monthly as well. NBK takeover. Unmasking the scandal. Why is National Bank of Kenya a listed company that belongs to the public being taken over at a tenth of its value by a privately owned KCB? That is a probing question. All the details also inside the recent copy of the Nairobi Business Monthly. Money and market of proposed budget changes of pensions industry, property and investment, why we are heading towards a price correction, and last word, a march towards a demographic, I should say, dividend. This is on page, actually not given the page here, but inside the recent copy of the Nairobi Business Monthly. Also unveiling the platform as well. This is what is on the front page of the platform magazine. If you've not grabbed your copy, right, the platform for law, justice and society. And of course, on the front page is that phase of Ekuru Aukot, Third Way Alliance Kenya Constitutional Amendment. Ekuru Aukot's Third Alliance Kenya Constitutional Amendment, Punguza Mizigo, a viable option for the people? That is a question. All the details are inside the latest copy of the platform. That is, or will be on your newsstand soon. Let's see also the editorial cartoons that we do have today. This is, let me begin with what we have inside the Daily Nation today. And this is the amusement parks as they look today, right? Very deserted, amusement parks, children playing, but everyone has actually gone digital, right? You can see the children there. They're busy, of course, playing with their mobile devices, right? So things have gone tech, and our children are not playing. This is a cause for worry, especially when it comes to obesity in the country. And of course, right, they always say that a child's work is play. Right, that is what Iga has drawn for us this morning inside the Daily Nation. Inside also, the Standard, we have Gado. And this is what Gado has drawn for us inside the Standard today. Boris issues his Africa policy, and I'll leave it for you to decipher this. Interesting cartoon this morning. And of course, we've known of Boris's pronouncements on Africa since he was a journalist, right? If you roll back to October 2016, the UK Independent reported that Johnson had referred to Africa as a country during a speech at his party's conference. Also, in 2000, the average, it says that, let me just try and pick some of the, it says that the best fate for Africa will be if the old colonial powers or the citizens scrambled once again in her direction, on the understanding that this time they will not be asked to feel guilty. This was reported in The Sun, February 2002. And there's also The Spectator, April 2016, where he said, some said it was a snub to Britain. Some said it was a symbol of the part Kenyan president's ancestral dislike of the British Empire. So these are some of the comments he said that are coming to haunt him. And he was widely reported to have defended the history of colonialism, saying that it will be the best if African countries were still colonized, and has also used language to describe black people, which many consider racist, for which he has apologized. There's one interesting one that I'm looking for, where he called Africans as paganisms. I'm trying to retrieve that just to read it for you so that you can actually get a gist of what this cartoon is all about. So how dramatically different will be his foreign policy for Africa? Yeah. Well, we'll leave it at that. That is what we have inside the Standard today, according to Gado. And this is what Stano has drawn for us this morning. How do we get out of this situation? That is you, the Kenyan, who's actually tied up there on top of that tree, upside down. Every coin has been shaken out of you. Poverty is what now has really encumbered you to move forward as far as your progress is concerned, but the politician's belly is always growing bigger and bigger, and you can see huge alliances and corruption. This is their mainstay. That is what has been drawn here by Stano inside the People Daily this morning. Lastly, allow me to hack you back into history, if I may. Let me try and see if I can actually retrieve that particular Well, I wanted to show you, but I'll show you much later in the course of the program. But you can grab a copy of the Daily Nation in the meantime. These are the stories. Supreme Court Judge Ojwang cleared of graft allegations. You can follow the story on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now, Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu says he will operate the affairs of his county at the sub-county level. The embattled governor, who joined worshippers at the Victors' Assembly Church in Kikuyu sub-county, also announced that he's keeping off 2022 succession politics, which he blamed for his current wars.
Huwezi fanya kazi hiyo, unajaribu kusema ifanywe na deputy kama hajakuwa gazetted. Kwani kama saa hii hapa, kama kuna mtu alikuwa amekuja na karatasi nimsainie, si ningemsainia tu. Si nimekuwa hapa, yes. Mimi ndio governor, executive powers bado ziko na mimi. Mimi juzi nimeongea na deputy governor. Na yeye pia hana confusion. Anajua mimi ndio mdosi. Mimi ndio mdosi wa county.
Waititu is the mdosi of the county, right? But what does actually the ruling by Mumbi portend as far as his mdosi is concerned, right? Because he says he will operate. He will not really go to the county office. But is it a matter of mortar and brick, right? Is it actually the office itself as a physical office, or it's the functions of the office? We are not really getting the clarity, and maybe also Governor Waititu is not really getting the clarity. Allow me to introduce our panelists this morning. If you joined us at the top of the hour, I'd introduce to you Richard Onyonka, who is a member of parliament from Kitatu Chache South. Also, we have with us our resident analyst. This is Haman Manyora, who is a political commentator. We have with us as well Alice Wahome, who is a member of parliament for Kandara. We have with us as well nominated senator. This is Isaac Mwaura also. We are eagerly awaiting for Pogisho to join us much later in the course of the program. Let's just begin with Haman Manyora. Right, Waititu says he's still the mdosi of the county, so he can operate even at the sub-county level. But where is the demarcation where we have him not really given that handy opportunity to access his office and the functions of the office? Where is the clarity?
Morning, Debarl.
Morning to you.
And morning, Kenyans, fellow panelists. You see, I've been following things on Twitter and participating also.
Yes.
With some of the toughest lawyers in this country. You get a feeling that we don't have a way of dealing with in this country.
Yes.
When things are simple and they must be allowed to remain simple, we make them complicated. When we have complex issues, we try to be simplistic in our dealing with them. So you see the confusion about revenue bill, which is supposed to be a simple, straightforward thing. So this ruling by Mumbi Ngugi does not remove Governor Waititu from office. That judge does not have the power to remove Waititu from office. The office of governor can be vacated in a manner prescribed by the Constitution, none of which says a judge can one day in their ruling say go home. But nevertheless, she asks that Waititu step aside for a while so that investigations can continue, the prosecution can continue. But in my understanding, in my understanding, what the judge was saying is this: look here, you are caught in a very difficult situation. How can a person like this continue being governor? So what do you do? I am giving you I'm making this situation so complex that Waititu cannot work, and yet he remain governor. So it is a situation where really you are a governor, yet you can't work, because it's not the physical space the way Waititu says. It is being governed. Because if you transfer yourself to some sub-county, like in Numberi, whatever it's called, and work from there, who are you going to work with? You'll still work with the officers of the county. And the court does not want you to interact with officers of the county and the documents from the county. So what does work mean? Work means you'll work with people. If you are signing a document, somebody brings to you. If you are chairing a cabinet meeting, it's not air. It is your CECs. And therefore, you are still working. It can't have been the physical space. It is actually working as a governor. And in my thinking, what I've really been saying over the last few days is Mombengogi was telling us, look here, gentlemen, you must walk out of these things. I'm creating a situation that is so difficult that Waititu either has to resign, which is what people do anywhere in the world, you know, or if he doesn't, the MCAs have an opportunity accorded to them by the Constitution to impeach the governor. In other words, what the judge is saying is no longer tenable for Waititu to remain governor of Kiambu. Yet I don't have the powers, but I'm creating a situation that must be exploited, either by Waititu to save himself further embarrassment and shame by standing aside, by resigning, or for MCS to remove him. That's my take.
Okay, right. Let's hear from Isaac. Good morning.
Good morning. Good
morning to you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I come from Kiambu County, and I vote for Kiambu in the Senate many times. And I'm a direct stakeholder of this. In fact, around 1 today, we'll have a meeting today to discuss development matters of Kiambu County. And Governor Waititu seems to be confusing. He's the person of Ferdinand Clifford Ndongo Waititu, Babayao, and the position of the governor. Those are two different people. They are two different legal persons. So when I hear him speaking, he looks like he has gotten some you know, the road to Damascus, like Paul of Tarsus. He seems to have really changed after he was remanded. You know, I have listened to him. This gentleman should not imagine that the office of the governor of Kiambu resides in himself. You know, sometimes we call him himself in Kiambu County.
Himself.
Himself, yes, because of his. Because he cannot transact business when he is supposed to, you know, not, you know, function to function as a governor. He is stepped aside. So whatever, you know, directives he gives are illegal. They cannot hold water. He has not been removed from office. I think there are some MCAs who are planning to impeach him. I wish them well. And they must anchor that impeachment in law so that it is not just witch hunt. But then the Constitution is very clear. Why we have a running mate for governor, just like we have a running mate for president, is to ensure that there is no lacuna. There is no, you know, vacuum when it comes to the exercise of power. So really, I find it hogwash, and I think he needs to be arrested for contempt of court. He actually needs to, because if he is allowed, he is creating very good ground for others also to misread, to misunderstand, and deliberately, you know, go against the wishes of the court. And this is also born of some lawyers that I saw on TV somewhere, Nelson Harvey and Kanjama and others, who are basically ogling for the corruption money by misadvising clients or would-be clients,
yes,
so that they can benefit from this like this. I think it's totally unacceptable. If you look at Chapter 6 of the Constitution, it's very, very clear. If Justice Mombengogi, and I must salute her for many of her landmark rulings, is that you cannot have a situation where some people can step aside and others cannot step aside. All leaders, whether elected, appointed, or whatever, if you have fallen short of the glory of the Constitution, you must then step aside. Yes.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Alice Wahome, and it seems also they always say that the law cannot be applied retrospectively. I don't know, and we have this particular story that was on the front page of a Sunday Nation about also more governors that maybe the DPP might be putting, of course, his net around. This is a DPP to kick out more governors, says bolstered by a ruling at the High Court. Nordin Haji wants more county chiefs thrown out due to corruption cases facing them, but the politicians are assembling a financial watchers, lawyers and political muscle, the list of those at risk and the battle ahead. Right, that story was tucked on page 8. Let's hear from you. What would be your input as far as this? It seems also maybe Governor Waititu is operating from a deficiency of knowledge as far as, you know, this particular pronouncement was made by Judge Mumbi.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to disagree entirely with a lot of things that Mr. Mwaura here, Senator Mwaura, has said. I believe he is not talking from a legal perspective. He's talking from a political perspective. These are two different things. it is not possible that a governor will be removed by a court ruling that actually did not even direct itself to the manner in which Waititu should leave office.
An elected governor.
An elected governor. I mean, there are no governors who are not elected.
Yes.
Because they draw executive power directly from the people. The mandate is by the people. And that's why the provision for impeachment is again in the Constitution and emanates from actually the county assembly, which is a representative of the people. The people who have elected members of the county assembly did grant them mandate to start the process of removing. So Justice Mobi was basically alluding, because obviously she was dealing, I believe, with the cases of executive appointments that are obviously different from elective appointments. Of course, you can argue that this is a double standard, but the Constitution recognized that political arrangements is very dynamic and unique in a certain way that you saw how there were some quarters that were very excited by the ruling that said Governor Waititu should actually not go to the scene of crime. And the court described the governor's office as a scene of crime and indicated that where the governor should not be there until the case is heard. That is actually attempting to remove the governor from the back door. Because in any event, if Waititu has been charged, it means sufficient evidence has been collected. So if you are suggesting that you are locking him out of office because you still consider that as a sin of crime, it really defeats purpose in terms of it kind of speaks volumes to the kind of evidence that is in court. However, I would have imagined that even if he would be asked to stay out of office, it would be for a certain period so that to allow maybe sufficient documentation and further investigations to be completed. And thereafter, allow the governor to operate until he's found guilty. And then not just that, until he exhausts his process of appellate courts, you know. The appeals would go maybe up to the Supreme Court, who knows, in terms even of constitutional references. So as long as you have a matter in court which is not concluded, you have maybe even appealed, you cannot remove. You can imagine the situation of a member of parliament. Maybe Mwaura is nominated, he may not have those kind of challenges. And then another claim is brought that maybe you have been involved somewhere, somehow with the CDF. Is it that who will deputize you then? I think we must separate issues here. I saw excitement in Kiambu, and indeed even Nyoro was appearing like he thought the office has been vacated. Indeed, the office has not been vacated. The executive authority is retained by the governor. He can decide to operate.
But are the functions crippled with the pronouncement?
The pronouncement was actually some that we are being excited about were not decisions or were not findings. It is something we call obiter dicta. Like the judge expressing her opinion, which is different from a finding and a judgment. And therefore, I mean, let us analyze the ruling properly so that we are not misguided by political excitement. There is nowhere Justice Mobi said Governor Waititu will not operate as a governor. That's my understanding of the ruling. It was that keep away from the office for now. And I mean, you can't say that there is, that he could actually operate across the road. He has, I think, 12 sub-counties in Kiambu, and those are governor's offices.
So from the office, you mean,
move.
My understanding also is, and I'll leave it for you also, maybe Hamantu and Richard Onyonga to see the functions of the office or the office itself? That has been...
The functions of the office...
Functions of the office,
the
good.
functions of the office are carried out by an elected governor.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So the functions of office are carried out by an elected governor. You've been, of course, ordered by the court not to access the office.
Actually, the
so
office
why
is
would you go to the sub-counties to actually carry out the functions of the office? That is a question, Richard Onyonga.
Just a moment. The ruling indicated that you don't go to the office until the matter is concluded. What does that mean? Which office? Did the court say stop being a governor or stop
But you've just indicated these are the functions of the office that we're talking about.
You know what,
right? That is a clarity.
I'm very clear about that.
Alice is speaking from both ends of her mouth because she's trying to tell us that the office is the building. That is exactly what she's trying to tell us. So Waititu was actually told to step aside from a building. And she's trying to tell us that she can establish even some other offices in the 12 sub-counties. I mean, this is why these lawyers mislead people. I mean, it's totally unacceptable. How can you come to tell us on one hand that somebody has actually been told not to exercise his power? I mean, these contracts that Waititu has been accused of getting kickbacks, it has not been proven in court that they were only received in the headquarters of Kiambu County. So that would occasion that that is the only place he can receive bribes. In fact, he has said he will be calling people. And I would want to tell the people of Kiambu, whether political, legal, or otherwise, that they should stop somebody who can interfere with investigations in whatever manner and to be seen to be violating the court order simply because he thinks he has a political mass. It is wrong to back people who are corrupt. It's wrong.
It's wrong. Richard Onyonka.
I mean, so
just a moment. We'll come to you, Alice. We'll come to you. No, we'll come to you. Let's hear from let's hear from Richard.
We are putting arguments here, legal arguments.
We also
Maura is being very emotional about this thing.
No, just a moment. Let's hear from Richard, then we'll come to you. Just a moment.
The moment
Alice,
you saying about
Isaac,
you are, I am nominated
Isaac,
and you are
please.
elected, we are both in parliament.
Yeah, let's go sequentially. Just a moment.
If I step aside
Alice and Isaac, please.
In relation,
Okay.
this particular
CDF
argument,
itself is actually illegal.
Maura,
All right, I think I'll put no. Just a moment, Alice.
No.
Okay.
The process is what the court has determined.
I think Amon will go and sit in between now, Alice and Richard. Let's hear from you.
Madam Alice, you see, I think you should have sat here, then I sit here for today.
It's good. It will be now Richard and you now again.
And I know we are going there.
No,
That's why Haman should come in between.
You are safe.
Thank you. Richard.
I wanted to say this. There are three things that worry me. One is that we actually have forgotten that in 2013, there was actually a Supreme Court ruling which was discussing this very issue we are talking about today. When is an individual culpable for them either to step aside or for them not to participate in public service, or for them to serve their country? And this comes under Chapter 6. And this ruling was actually about President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. When you remember, the matter was brought to court that because of the high crimes which they were supposedly alleged to have committed, then they should have not held public office. The Supreme Court actually pronounced itself on this. And what the Supreme Court said, yes, that may have been the case, but there's a very basic principle that the Constitution of Kenya protects somebody because they are innocent until proven guilty. That's point number one. Point number two, Justice Mumbi, in good faith, made a ruling where she pronounced herself. But in pronouncing herself, saying that Governor Waititu should not hold office insofar as when the investigations are continuing and when his case is going on, and therefore inherently what it meant was that he may not be continuing to serve the people of Kiambu. Even in that ruling, I found it actually confusing. The same argument you find. In other words, one side you find my brother Isaac is saying, actually, we are not talking about the physical address. We are not talking about the governor's mansion and the areas where he operates from. What we are talking about is the office of the governor, where this individual serves in that office, in that capacity, by providing leadership and political guidance and management of the affairs of the people of Kiambu. I would hope, the way I've seen that the DPP and the DCI, that they are going to seek an interpretation, another interpretation from Justice Mumbi, if there is a need be, so that she can then actually, in a clear manner, say, is she saying that Waititu should not participate in any activity, he should not go to public functions, he should not go to that office which he has been running, which is the physical address, as a representative of the people of Kiambu, and that does the Constitution therefore allow her to actually make that decision. Was she sending a message, and there's a parallel on what is happening in the US and what is happening with Kiambu. In the US, Robert Mueller, who was a former FBI investigator, was investigating Donald Trump on crimes and misdemeanors. What Mueller said, he cannot impeach a sitting president, but he told Congress that Congress is free to actually proceed and impeach Donald Trump if they feel that they have the capacity and the morality to impeach him. I think, to me, what Mumbi has done, she has actually asked the MCAs in Kiambu County, saying, we have realized, without convicting the governor, that there are certain crimes and misdemeanors which he may have committed. And we are asking you people to come in, because your responsibility exists in the Constitution, that you are the only people who can actually remove the governor from office. So the judge may not necessarily have the capacity of saying, Governor Waititu, you are out. But I think, to me, the judge was saying, let Governor Waititu step aside. Now, again, we need an interpretation to explain what stepping aside is all about.
Now,
We need an interpretation for stepping aside.
let me tell you
Isn't it
this.
self-explanatory? So
Debarl.
yes, let's hear from...
Debarl, there is no explanation or clarification to be sought from the court. The judge was as clear as it can ever get. And lawyers always say it is very clear. This is also very clear, lawyer Alice Wahome. What the judge is saying is, it is not tenable for Waititu to do the work of, to continue performing the work of governor, okay? But she doesn't have the power to remove him.
That's
She
what I
therefore
said.
creates a situation where either of the two things will happen. One, that Waititu resigns, or two, the people impeach him. Let me demonstrate using the President of the Republic of Kenya. He enjoys immunity from prosecution, okay?
Yes.
It's not the case everywhere, including America, by the way. It's not the way. It's not explicitly provided in America that you can't impeach the president. So there are countries where the president can be impeached. Now, I'm saying, let's assume that was the case in Kenya. And then the court has said, because the President of the Republic of Kenya has appeared in case on graft charges, he should not appear where? In the office. What would that mean? It means State House. So anapanga mizigo yake anatoka. It means where?
Harambee House.
Harambee House. So how else can he remain president? How will he be president again? That is the situation Mumbi Ngugi has created. And because the president holds just beyond executive power, his presence is more than his signature on many things. You get what I'm saying? That the country will crumble without the president. And that's why we have protected the president. So, and I've been arguing what we need to do is to equally protect the office of the governor from persecution. You get it? To save ourselves from situations such as this. In this situation that Mumbi has created, unless another court varies that decision, there is no way Waititu will be governor. He has to go home. Either he has to resign or the county has to, because it is an awkward situation. There are things that cannot move without the governor. So as a country, we must engage on the issue of providing immunity for prosecution for the governor in the same way we have provided for the president, to save ourselves from this awkward situation. Now, people, when I do this on Twitter, people tell me I'm wrong, I'm protecting thieves. But there are ways you now handle this. The MCAs will now do their job, so that when it gets to a point, then they will impeach the governor. Number two, we will now go for the officers who actually do the signatures. The governor does not give tenders. The governor does not sign any document to give money out. It is officers who do it. So we will now spotlight the officers and we will jail them. And the next time they will never, ever receive instructions from governors because they know they'll go to jail. So we protect the office of the governor from persecution to save ourselves from this kind of awkward situation. But finally, Alice, this idea that people must wait until criminal charges against them are over is misplaced. Because we are talking about integrity. You cannot be governor of a country with integrity hanging over your head. Public trust in leadership is important for functions to go on. And therefore we are now trying to say, and this is what Justice Mumbi Ngugi is telling us, if you want to remain a third world country, poor, where people are dying from diarrhea, go ahead. But if you want to move forward and join the League of Developed Nations, Let us be having this idea of shame, public shame. When you are caught in the mess that Waititu is caught on, can you please move out? This is what she's telling us. And that is the only way as Kenyans we will develop as a country and move into the league of civilized nations where our people are not dying from cheap diarrhea.
Alice thinks that thinks that this is a very simplistic way of thinking, that she moves forward because now
the countries that we
we're
emulate,
encumbered by what now the Constitution demands, that there has to be a due process. There has to be, an appearance before the Senate. There has to be an impeachment that will happen.
Listen, just a moment.
Let him finish. Let him finish to come, yes.
Just a moment. The same Constitution, Alice and Debarl, under Article 10 and Chapter 6, envisages a situation where only clean Kenyans serve Kenyans. That supersedes anything. The element did is to dilute Chapter 6, actually shelve it. And I understand why. We were caught in a very difficult situation. How are we ever going to stop President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto from running in 2013? I understand how difficult it was even for the Supreme Court and the IEBC. It was so difficult.
Right.
But having gone out of it by the we must begin implementing Chapter 6.
Thank you. Alice, just hold on, Alice. We need to take a short break. When we circle back, we'll begin with you. We take a short break right now, but let me just read one or two tweets as we also taking a short break. We have Abdul Rashid Abdullahi saying we've got to obey the laws. Judge Mumbi Ngugi was very clear. It is self-explanatory. No need for interpretation. Governor Babaya should not go near the office. Also, we have Jasper Mogira saying, I just love the deep state. They've convinced us that 47 control 320 billion, stealing about 10%, that is 32 billion shillings, are our enemy, whilst the national government can't account for 65% of a 2 trillion shillings budget. Who is our real enemy? This is what Jasper is asking. Also, we have Gideon Yada saying, Senator Mwaura, the court has not convicted the good governor. The ruling is preliminary, and as such, no substantive verdict has been made yet. Seems the law is elusive even to lawmakers. This is what he's saying. We have also Ed here saying, so is Alice Wahome the only person who can understand court rulings while the rest of us are incapable of doing so? Can we stop playing politics with every single thing that involves the lives of Kenyans? This is what he's saying, ED. Also, we have, or Ed, Samuel Ruto saying Alice Wahome is, in other words, in support of a public thievery. Is she trying to imply our courts are authorized to bar only national leaders, as if the Constitution of Kenya is used in isolation of counties? Why to stole from Kenyans, not Kiambu people? This is what he thinks. And lastly, we have Field Marshal saying there is nothing like counties merger in Punguza Mizigo Bill 2019. This is to Honorable Nyonka. If you've not read the bill, stop peddling lies. Don't tell us what Raila says. You can think independently. Nobody knows what's with the BBI. Okay, this is I don't know if he's insulted you in Kisii there. Obosuku Obonene Oborokia. I don't know what he's saying.
I'll translate for you.
We need to take a short break.
He's just being parochial.
He's being parochial.
Yeah.
Right, we'll take a short break right now. When we circle back, we will also pick the brains of Alice Wahome to respond to some of these tweets as well and clarify what is the way forward as far as the fate of Governor Waititu is concerned. Shall he face an impeachment, or what does it mean also as far as the functions of the office of the governor is concerned? Is it crippled? Don't go away.
Konza Greens is the only controlled residential development within Konza Techno City Buffer Zone. Secure your future today.
Big people have big problems. Well, well, well. Born out of a city in the village. Raised in a cozy room, then become the lady of a villa, only to be thrown out.
What's going on?
Emir was in custody last night.
What?
Calm down, please. Have a seat.
You're looking at the pleasant me sitting in front of you. But when you throw my sister away, when you label her a divorced woman, then you will have the misfortune of seeing my real face.
Super Loaf, slices of life.
Yani, unataka tuendelee kuishi kwa hiyo kibanda ulikuwa unaishi ukiwa bado bachelor?
Sasa tunawachana, nataka tuwe tunafanya kitu tukiwa wawili.
Unajua hizo mistari za old syllabus tuliachama form 1.
Kwa sababu wewe ni senior Matianyu unakatiwa na nini Pawaso?
I'm officially engaged to the Prince Crotus Sabong.
Kwani Crotus ni nani?
Crotus ndio mdosi wake.
Kumbe unataka kupendwa serikali eh?
Kukusaidia naweza kusaidia. Lakini kama unafikiria unalala pale kwangu, hiyo sahau. Wewe kulala pale ni kama Trump kucheza Saudi dance.
Sawa, nitarudi with a bang.
Hiyo usingizi yako ndio tulipia rent. Kwani umekuwa mtoto?
Leones ndo agaenda kuhunt.
My name is Janet. It's either utawezana na mimi ama urudi pale umetoka.
She's the best housemaid around.
Hatukusema tunahitaji mashini ya kusiaga unga and a sweatshop.
I'm the only one who can start your madness. Ukweli. You are not the best maid.
The Real House Helps of Kawangware in association with Telkom.
Join Telkom today and share life on our expanded 4G network. Telkom, moving with you.
Gazeti liloboreshwa la Mwanaspoti linakuletea mengi ya kufurahisha macho na moyo. Kwa taarifa zote za soka, riadha za kusisimua, burudani za kitaifa na kimataifa ambazo zitakukonga moyo, bila kusahau kuvumio na usafi katika fasheni na ulimwende. Yote haya katika toleo jipya liloboreshwa la gazeti la Mwanaspoti
utakalopata kila Jumanne na Jumamosi na sasa la Alhamisi
kwa shilingi 35 tu. Pata toleo lako sasa.
Out of your mind, Rodrigo! It was you who killed Papa! Just admit it, Mom!
Rodrigo, that's not true!
Your mom!
Get away from her!
not!
You only did that because you were defending me.
I did.
It was an accident,
It was an
Hernan.
accident!
Believe me!
Mom!
No!
It's true, I killed him!
Hernan! No!
Breakfast is not complete without the new Minute Maid Nutri-Defense's Nectar Plus. Complete the most important meal of the day with the goodness of great-tasting juice fortified with vitamin E and zinc to complement your family's nutritional needs. Minute Maid Nutri-Defense's Nectar Plus. Breakfast complete.
This is a point is what you're watching this morning. My name is Debarl Inea, and we're continuing with the conversation apace here with our panelists. We're talking about the ruling of Judge Mumbi that is adversely now affecting the functions of Kiambu County. And of course, we have very heated debate here as far as the pronouncement is concerned. Is it just the brick and mortar, which is the office that is accessing the physical office, or is the functions of the office? Alice Wahome.
Yes, Debarl, is it Manyora or is it Onyonka, who has alluded to the fact that the ICC question became a very big issue in this country because there was an application before the court which went up to the Supreme Court to determine whether Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto could actually be even on the ballot paper. And the court considered that the fact that they were charged or there were allegations that are coming would not bar them from seeking elective office. Even on the second angle, and therefore the court was very clear that until they have been charged.
Not true, Alice.
No.
Let
me finish.
Yes, just
the reason why they were able to proceed, even after actually they were elected, we still were able to get them to the ballot, is because the court agreed that they must be proven guilty.
That's not
innocence.
That's not true, Alice. You're a lawyer, but that's not
Let me finish. Why are you interrupting? Because actually you are not a lawyer. You see, the application was they must be stopped from being on the ballot. And the court was unable to find reasons why they would not be in the ballot. And even if they were charged, even today, the fact that you are seeking an elective office and you are charged before a court of law, actually you would still be eligible for elections, save that if you are convicted, and even the conviction is for a period, it has been 12 months, that you are found guilty for at least and convicted for a term of not less than 6 months. And then, of course, you have put in an appeal. You would have to be allowed to process your appeal.
Debarl would love to come in and clarify something.
No, you know that is the law, Manyora, and that is why
something.
even today,
But Alice, the argument that you're quoting,
let us not confuse
just a
chapter
moment.
6
You just finish.
and being charged with a criminal offense. There is no way the fact that you have been taken to court.
So let me ask you, because I think this is where we're piggybacking on that chapter 6.
And that is
just
why,
a moment, Alice. And we're trying to say that now chapter 6 is a preserve over state officers, and this is not applicable to people like the governors and the senators.
We have a constitution that says not even just the governor, elective offices, that if you are actually, and it is selective, elective offices, if you are charged, you will not be stopped from running for an office of governor, of president, of MP, or even county assembly. And that is our constitution. Why? It recognizes the principle.
You will not be stopped if, what is a conditional...
you will only be stopped if you have been convicted.
If you've been convicted.
Yes, and that you have exhausted your appellate processes.
Yes.
That is the condition.
Okay.
If you then have reached the end of your legal processes, then, and you have a conviction on your head, you will actually also be maybe forced then to step out of office. Now, this is the complexity, because the chapter 6 envisaged Kenyans will conduct themselves in a manner that does not bring ridicule and contempt in the office and disrepute to the office that they are serving. And therefore, Justice Mubi, if she intended to remove, and let me be clear, and I'm not defending the charges or what, because I'm not his lawyer, I'm not defending the issues that have affected Kiambu County. I'm not even defending graft. What I'm saying, Kenyans must understand the constitution that we have has certain processes to remove somebody from office. And Manyora said there are two situations that Waititu will either resign, and he can opt to resign or not resign. He can opt to step from the office or not step from the office. And there is no provision that will force him.
But
let me, and then he's talked of impeachment. Impeachment is another constitutional process, and it has, again, its court process, even up to the appeal courts.
Thank you very much.
So you will still find Waititu is going to be there.
Let me say something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So can they appeal to Waititu possibly to agree to step down? If Mumbi's ruling is to the effect that Waititu has left office, I can assure you it will be overturned.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's see from how we come to you, Isaac.
Okay. I want to explain something, then we go to Isaac. Is that right?
Please.
As we went to the election in 2013, an application was made, somebody went to the High Court saying the president then wishing to be candidate was already indicted for crimes against humanity and so on and so forth with his running mate. And for that extent, they should not be cleared. This is what the Supreme Court said. I'm not a lawyer, Alice, but this is what the Supreme Court said. That the Supreme Court will handle a petition brought against the election of a president. Okay? That's one way in which it will be involved. As to whether or not these two should be cleared to run for office, the Supreme Court was categorical. The court was categorical that there are agencies that have that responsibility. Specifically, the Supreme Court said it is the IEBC to decide on the suitability or otherwise of a candidate before they clear them. They didn't say you wait for hearing to come to an end. They said it is the IEBC. And if the IEBC clears this person, but you have an issue against that person in terms of election, then it will be brought to us as a
go
petition.
to court, yes.
That is what the Supreme Court said. In other words, what I'm saying is the Supreme Court was actually, some people are saying, ducking its responsibility. I don't want to use that word. I think what the Supreme Court was awake to, it was awake to the fact that this was a monumental thing. How you are going to stop the President Uhuru Kenyatta from running you will cause chaos in the country. And therefore, it cleverly and tactfully threw the ball to IBC.
It recognized
IBC, on the other hand, said,
yeah.
how do we stop somebody? And the case is not over.
In
other words, they are tossing the ball.
And I understand the reason. Innocence.
And I understand that's not the truth. Because Mombi Ngugi, in a landmark ruling again, against some chairman, was it Mativo or somebody, of somebody who was trying to be, EACC.
Matemo.
What was his name?
Matemo.
Mombi Ngugi said, we must draw a clear distinction between criminal liability and issues of integrity. And she said the threshold for issues of integrity is not as high as that of criminal liability. And therefore, the often quoted thing about Caesar's wife must always apply. And until the bar, I want to be allowed to repeat this perhaps for the last time.
Yes.
Until Kenyans get to the point where they will have leaders of integrity, where people step aside or resign even because a train has caused an accident and you are not the train driver, you are a minister in charge. We've seen things like that in Egypt and elsewhere. Where the president of the IMF resigned because a lady has said he attempted to rape house. And until we get there, because the role of leadership in development, my friend, cannot be gainsaid. Without proper leadership,
thank you,
no country can progress.
Okay, so let's bring it to a close and get clarity. That is chapter 6 also a precept for, as I mentioned earlier, for the state officer, and it's not applicable to elected, to elected leaders in this country.
Let me say this.
The Elections Act,
that
Maura can discuss that one.
If you look at chapter 6, and if you allow me, I can read.
Please do.
Article 73 starts by saying, authority assigned to a state officer, that is including a governor, is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is, 1, is consistent with the purposes and objects of this constitution, 2, demonstrates respect for the people, 3, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and, let me go up to there, promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. Yeah? And then, in fact, let's just go ahead and say, vests the state officer the responsibility to serve the people rather than the power to rule them. Okay? The guiding principle of leadership and integrity include, and it continues. So even without even going anywhere, and picking from where Professor Manyora has said, that the issue of integrity is not even a question of you being convicted. It's not criminal culpability. It's a question of your own personal morality. It's a question of you knowing that when you continue to use your thorax and to force your way into funerals and meetings and making a mockery of our judicial system, you are actually exacerbating a worse situation. You are actually giving a thumbs up to the corrupt many that would see that you are clearing away for them. And no, Alice is telling us here that she's a lawyer, and I'm very glad. Because you see, lawyers defend criminals. That's why we have criminal or whatever advocates. No. And also,
we deal with administration of justice.
It is also true. It is also true that lawyers. If you hear every lawyer, they are always right. All of them. That is why in Parliament, the lawmakers are not necessarily lawyers. They are laymen, like Professor Manyora, like myself, and others, who really have common sense sometimes, because nobody is going to pay them to do that which is right. Because sometimes when lawyers are paid to support the people that they are defending, they can say anything to get away with it. What am I trying to say in short? We have to have a situation where we are a people of integrity. The reason why this country is not moving forward is because we make court rulings based on personalities. Mombi Ngugi, the same Mombi Ngugi, on 27th of February, you can even Google and see, she declared Clifford Ferdinand Waititu unfit to hold public office. In the last election, the same Waititu we are talking about here was among the list of the people that were supposed not to be cleared by IEBC. Now, the court ruling by Justice Mombi is doing a very good justice because it shifts the burden of proof, the burdens of expediting the case to the one who is convicted. And it is very clear, it's 24 months. But we have a situation where Debarl, people know that they will continue to drag themselves in court, continue to enjoy the perks of office, continue to use the same office to perpetuate illegalities. And it was very clear when Waititu could not even get bail. And one of the things that his lawyers were saying is because he cannot access his office. That is to mean then there's a difference between taxpayers and tax beggars. People who actually thrive on on public coffers, and when they are removed from office, they are actually exposed. So in short, what I'm trying to say is this: the integrity of the people are in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Mombi has actually declared the protection of elected leaders null and void. I don't think Kenyans are people who are going to lack leaders just because somebody has vacated the office. And I know the fear is that this can be used politically. I would rather the risk than the current situation where we are using legal codes, we are using the gridlock in court, even bribing judges, so that we circumvent justice and majority poor continue to suffer.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Richard Onyonka.
I think for me, Debarl, when you look at the truth, I saw somebody hitting back at Justice Ngugi saying her rulings are normally activist, and whoever that was commenting about that was trying to suggest that this is just hot air and there wasn't much to it. I would like to say that, one, to a large extent, there needs to be deterrence in our country in terms of issues or matters, corruption. And the deterrence is, even if it means that we who are public officers, once there is sufficient evidence to have a court feel that there's a possibility, even without going through the due process until where you are either going to be released on Chapter 211 or you're going to be released on 87. If there is sufficient evidence where you are actually capable, then sincerely speaking, Debarl, I think we now need to move our country to the next level. We now need to have officers who are found to have been directly or indirectly related with loss of public funds and issues integrity have come in. I think what Justice Mumbi has done, and I'm very happy that she was my yearmate in the University of Nairobi, and we had very high regard of her before she actually became a success judge as she is now. She's actually taking our country to the next level. That are we ready to actually look like my brother Mwaura has said, and I think Justice Manyora has said, and I think all of us are here saying the same message. Are we in a country ready to agree that our country is in a problem, to agree that corruption is the reason why we cannot take off as a country, and that certain very drastic actions need to be taken? The answers to all those questions is yes. And to me, I think Justice Mumbi's ruling or Justice Mumbi's decision on this matter is a matter that even when the governors have announced they're actually going to put money together and they're going to take this thing to the Supreme Court, I am going to tell the governors this: by the time this thing lands at the Supreme Court, the ruling which may come from there may not give you room to do anything. In fact, they are taking themselves into a cul-de-sac in law, that it is going to go, yes, they can take it to Court of Appeal, yes. Finally, the thing is going to go to the Supreme Court. And Maraga is going, and his team may most probably announce and say, any person who is mentioned on issues of integrity when it comes to public service, and then they will actually come out and describe who is a public officer and all those things which are creating quote-unquote doubts. The truth and the reality is Kenya has to move to the next election. And I think the judiciary, some members of the judiciary have reached a stage where they are saying, we don't want to be blamed all the time that we're the weakest link. And I think they're putting their foot down.
All right. Okay, I think now we've, can we sum up on this? We move on, please.
I just had the concerns about, the statements that Mwaura is making about if you are charged, you are a criminal. Let's also be able to understand that dispensing justice is about legal processes. And those legal processes are anchored in law and in the Constitution. And therefore, when we conclusions before exhausting, every process of the, whether you are in court, whether you are, you have been charged, and the question of integrity that Mwaura is talking about, I think what he should be saying is that we should take it to the next level and have a law that requires that if you are charged, then you should be able to step aside, even if you are elected leader. But for now, what we are saying is that that is not the situation. There is a lacuna There is a gap, and we cannot sit and actually say that, pretend and say, we will hound you out of office without using legal process. I think I would not want to...
Let me just wind up on this in a minute.
I think the bar,
let me just wind up. Yes. There are two things. We have hardware and we have software. Alice is long on the hardware and the short or non-existent on the software. The Constitution provides the software in Chapter 6.
Exactly. Don't need any other.
Why are you so intent on the hardware? And why this country is not moving forward? We have the hardware part well in place, but the software, who we are as people, what do we need to do to distinguish ourselves from animals? The shame that comes with doing certain
not
things.
Encourage impunity.
A human being stops to be a human being ceases to be a human being the moment they do not get to a point where they feel shame after doing certain things. And that software is in the Constitution, and Chapter 6.
And the BAL is very clear. The BAL.
What other law are you waiting for?
If you have Chapter 6, why is it that Parliament has never passed a law to enact Chapter 6? That's where the problem is. Because even if it were to go to Parliament, it will be mutilated because people will feel they are being exposed. Why? Because a good number of leaders, not all, a good number of leaders find their way into public office through dubious means.
And that's why Justice Ngugi is helping us.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, we need to move on and just discuss about referendum. If I might just have my camera aid closer to me so that I can read this particular intro and hear what Amani National Congress leader had to say. This is Musalia Mudavadi, where Amani National Leader Congress Musalia Mudavadi has dismissed calls for a referendum under the Third Way Alliance's Punguza Mizigo initiative, terming it a case of misplaced priority. Mudavadi said the only thing that should be reduced right now is the level of corruption in the country. He was speaking at a church function in Isaiah County. Let's listen in.
Let us focus, and the focus should be the war against corruption. That is where Muzigo utafanya nini? Utapunguzwa. Wale wanaiba dams huko, pesa za dams, mabawa, mabilioni na mabilioni, hao ndio wameleta Muzigo. We must reduce expensive borrowing. We must deal with the corrupt. Na tunasema DPP na EACC na ile Asset Recovery Authority wafuatilie ile tracing, wajue hizo pesa zilienda wapi. Wafuatilie, washike mali ambayo imeibwa ya Wakenya, wauze hiyo mali through a public process, pesa irudi kwa mwananchi, ndio sisi tuseme tunapunguza nini? Mzigo.
So you can also grab a copy of the Daily Nation today, where Raila Mudavadi fights our court bill. Why are they fighting this particular bill? Raila says this actually is a diversionary tactics from Punguza Mizigo. We had also here the pronouncement of, not really, but he has said that he has failed. This is what Musalia Mudavadi was saying, that he has failed to suggest which are this constituency he wants to reduce and how that will be done. Who will support a bid to merge existing constituencies? He wondered. This actually was, yes, this was Mr. Mudavadi in Rwanda. Let's just buckle down to this particular discussion and begin with you, Herman Manyora, on this. Why is Punguza Mizigo getting such a bash?
There are basically two reasons. The main reason here would be, one, it will not be practical, honestly, and common sense will just say so, to have a referendum and then another one. So the fellows who call the shots in this country are preparing to come up with a referendum after the BBI report, okay?
But that's where now the problem is. And that's
what I'm saying.
People who are calling the shots in this country
are waiting for theirs.
Yeah,
and this one will disrupt theirs. In other words, you can't have the Punguza Mizigo referendum and then have another one before 2022. Even the time may not be there. And even the the fatigue.
But
and the common sense will not allow it.
No, but isn't it the discretion of Kenyans to actually choose which referendum or bill will make sense to us?
Which Kenyans?
If it's the BBI or the Punguza Mizigo. So we'll try and compare and see.
Which Kenyans? I've told you repeatedly, Debarl, there are no Kenyans. You know, these people who call the shots decide everything for us.
No, but
it's unfortunate, but that is the situation.
But this is actually the idea I don't
and
agree
that is
with.
why
that we've actually crossed a Rubicon. And every initiative that can be put forward cannot be challenged because there are people who are making decisions for Kenyans in this country.
This one,
where is actually the muscle of the Mwananchi?
We must distinguish what I think and feel, what should actually right, and what might happen and what will happen. So I'm talking about what will happen. What will happen is they will kill the Punguza Mzigo. Whether it has merit or not is not the issue, Debarl. The issue is those who call the shots will kill this Punguza Mzigo, not on its merit or lack of it, but just because if it is put to the vote in a referendum, it means you are actually saying you not have another, and yet the people who call shots in this country will depend on the referendum, on the BBI handshake referendum, to restructure government to make 2022 possible. That's what I'm saying. So that's the main reason. Of course, there are other reasons. People are saying there are issues in the bill, but that's subsidiary. The issues and the substance in the bill, nobody's even talking about it.
Right. So what was the rhyme and reason for the courts actually to stop Okura Court, from actually presenting this particular bill to the county assemblies? Because I hear also there's been a court ruling that he cannot. Now he's been encumbered. What is the rhyme and reason for this?
And there will be more. And I've told you, there are people who call the shots, and they will not allow Punguza Gunia or Punguza Punda to go on. It's as simple as that. Why do we want to waste our time? It will not see the light of day as we wait for the BBI one. That is, I like being simple.
So the BBI is more superior to actually the Punguza.
It doesn't matter the substance.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Who calls the shots really
calls
matters.
the shots?
Okay.
Yeah.
You agree with his view?
I actually disagree with his view. I think there are certain things which need common sense. Very basic common sense. In fact, it brings me back to the fella who was posting something in the Kisi language. This country has reached a stage that when we disagree with people on whichever matter, then they would want to throw epithets at you or say words which would make me annoyed or angry. I will not get angry. Debarl, the point is very simple.
Yes.
If I was Aukot, look at the story on page 7 of the People Daily.
That's page 7?
Page 7 of the People Daily.
Yes. We are there.
All right?
We are there.
First, the issue you have which you raised, and I'll go to 3 points only. The issue that you have that somebody has gone to court. People go to court anyway in Kenya. If you go to the United States of America, which is the biggest democracy in the world, the truth and the reality, which is the most successful, not the biggest, the most successful. The truth and the reality you have is that there are people who go to court even on the pavings which have been put on the street.
We're on page 7.
All right?
Yes.
Now, so for our court to get on TV and to get onto the newspapers and say, I am blaming, and that is exactly the same message that Professor Manyora is bringing, why I disagree with him, that this case has been brought, and this case has been brought to stop him. Yes, it is, but this case has not been ruled on. What the judge did is create a stoppage and say, hold on, let us hold the status quo, bring in the arguments, and let us begin to discuss the matters inter partes at some point. And then the other issue, as usual, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm
and
listening.
I don't know whether it's because this scenario developed from the last elections or there's bad blood. Always, our court is always hitting at Raila. And I told one of his friends, I said, tell our court, he has a good idea. Let him not become antagonistic for him to begin making people believe that there is an agenda he had other than introducing a good idea which could help the country. In other words, when you have a good idea in whatever thing you want to do, whether it's in politics, whether it is in science, you do not then look at your friends and peers and even your enemies, imaginary or otherwise, and you begin to throw epithets at them saying, oh, these people think we are not educated. They think that now the BBI hasn't been presented. BBI, it is true that the BBI People have been going around to all the counties. They have been allowing the public to participate. We have not received the final product of their written down discussions on different matters so that we can look at them and agree on the way we are going to move forward. According to me, there are critical issues on the Punguza Mzigo. Good, he has raised, our court has raised issues about public funds. He has raised the issues about the amount of money that is going to be used by the increment in the number of members of parliament, the number of county governments. I know severally we have had very many people of integrity and credibility saying we are actually not managing our counties well. Why? Because the counties are overstaffed, because the counties are misusing resources. There are people who have come up and said we do not need members of parliament to be as many as they are. There are people, the other issue as discussed is, oh, you need to get rid of CDF. We actually don't need it. Maybe our court should have asked some of us what you think about something like CDF. CDF is not because, like me, Debarl, I'm not going to run for MP, all right, after this. So I'm not defending CDF simply because I am going to be an MP. In fact, I'm intending to run for governor. So what we are saying is very simple. We believe, some of us, very deeply, that if you kill CDF, if you have a governor and you have, for example, seven sub-counties, and this governor is elected by 2, Professor Manyora, it means 5 will not have the attention and even the resources and even the governance which they deserve. All right. So the stopgap measure that you create is that we must discuss what is going to happen to the CDF. And also, Kenyans have not, the ordinary mwananchi hasn't reached a stage where all we talk about, the role of an MP is to oversight, and the role of an MP is just to be there so that you pass bills in parliament. And those are not the issues, because when you go to the villagers tell you, yes, you are our MP. Yes, we know what you are doing in parliament, but kuna shule hapa ambayo inataka choo. All right,
you mentioned that actually the court has not stopped the county assembly from listening to Okura court.
Has not made a final ruling.
Has not made a final ruling.
Yes.
But why should you also seek the ouster of Justice Macau on this as well?
No, the argument I'm making is, you see now, wait,
if the ruling is not there, I think he's got,
No, that's why I'm saying that our court here is making a recommendation that he has got his people who are going to start looking at the rulings of Justice Macau. Justice Macau is doing his job. Allow him to make a final ruling, which then you can use if you don't believe in its ruling and its validity legally, and then you can censure him. But here is our court saying anything that is going to be brought to court about Punguza Mzigo, then we are going to look at the same man who wants to change Kenya is actually now impeding justice by threatening a judge that the judge must not make a ruling, which is going to stop him. And my argument is very simple. Our court needs to maintain a more friendly approach into this. Finally, Debarl, let me tell you this. If you are arguing and we are disagreeing in this country, are you really saying that you think Musalia is crazy, Raila is crazy, Kalonzo is crazy, Moses Wetangula, Fort Kenya is crazy, that all these people are so crazy, and therefore all you need now is somebody who is highly educated and extremely exposed in a court who is telling everybody, shut up. And that is what this story is all about. What we are saying is, let him engage the rest of this political leadership. Then, once the political leadership is engaged, let us speak what he has brought that is sensible and that is good for Kenyans. Let us take what BBI has got and we bring it. Let us merge the two and move forward.
Yeah, but good initiative. But why then, from actually the political class, do you then poo-poo this particular Punguza Mizigo bill and you say this is a diversionary tactic? It's a good thing you say. Why can't you pick up the beauties in it and try and see what BBI will have and make the country move forward? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to actually help this country, aren't we? So we should collectively appreciate every effort that is coming from whatever corner, whichever Kenyan is presenting this particular initiative.
The reason why this issue was brought forth is this. Our court knew all along that the BBI people were collecting views. He knows that from 2013, before we held the election, we had our own issues which were to do with the referendum. we were bad because they say we didn't have the signatures. What I am arguing
we
is...
on the Okoa or which one?
Okoa.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but the Okoa went down the tubes.
No,
but you can't say... No, just a moment.
But we were told that...
Yeah, thank you. You can't say that the BBI came before Punguza. Because I think Punguza bolted before BBI, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
so we cannot try and say that actually is trying to scupper or trying to scuttle the whole process along the way, and this is a diversionary tactic. I think that is misleading Kenyans because I think BBI came after Punguza Mizigo started.
The issue, Debarl, is because our court has stolen the political thunder from the would-be, promoters
and that's the reality
of referendum. Because all along we were waiting for the BBI to go around. We thought they would finish the whole process. They were added 3 more months. Then our court, because nobody knew that he was canvassing for these signatures, he surprised everybody by presenting 1.2 million signatures. So it is about the political thunder and that sense of entitlement that it is not you, it is us who should be leading the process. And remember our court, we need to look at this gentleman. He's a first PhD from Turkana. This gentleman is the one who saved us by going, and when I say saved us, I mean Jubilee, by going to the second election, which when the time we were not supposed to go, and he was also the CEO of the Committee of Experts. But the bottom line of this whole issue is we need a referendum law. The Okoa Kenya, there were issues around the signatures, around people drawing dogs and all. You remember? It was a whole...
Yes.
When Chebukati was asked about the verification of signature, he said there is no law compelling him to do so. So we need a referendum law. And please, Kenyans, note that it is extremely difficult to change the constitution. That is one thing that people do not seem to understand. The drafters of the constitution, and I was very privileged to be in the reference group, and among the first to get the first draft of the Committee of Experts draft, is that they did not want this afternoon thing of going to Parliament and you change the law. So if you look at Chapter 16, Articles 255, 56, 57, it's actually nearly impossible to change the constitution. And if you are to do so, you need a very watertight referendum law. And in the last parliament, I actually proposed, I delineated the issues from what I understood, wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly. Alice was in the jailer committee then, I think. I was told they were supposed to come up with a draft, because for me, I wanted them to help me in drafting one. But it has never seen light of day. I know Chebukati has since submitted a bill, but we need first to pass that one. Otherwise, a simple court injunction like the one we are witnessing will scatter in efforts. Why? Because how many referenda, for example, can you have? Because you only need 1 million signatures. Potentially, we are 50 million Kenyans. Can you have 50 referenda? How many can you have in a year? Those questions are not answered. Can these MCAs, for example, of the 16 issues raised by our court, can they alter? Or are they supposed to just pass it as is? What happens if Parliament wants to amend? So those things need to be addressed insofar as the law is concerned. But also moving forward, I think the issue that we are having here between the BBI and the Punguza Mzigo, I was in Kibra when Right Honorable Raila Odinga was talking about Punguza Gunia, is the fact that the BBI, the Punguza Mzigo initiative has not proposed what one would call de-risking of our politics, where then you expand the executive at the top so that the tribes can share. You see? And these are issues that are not inimical to Kenya, because you find the same struggles with Lee Kuan Yew when he became the first prime minister and then of Singapore. I mean, in a multiracial, multi-ethnic community, these are issues about who gets to occupy power. But what I foresee, and I'll be vindicated, is that the BBI would want to propose the bombers draft around issues of a parliamentary system, and especially, if at all, we had to vote parties. For me, I think that's a good way going forward. Because the way we have our politics, the model of development, cannot really be sustainable, especially when you look at it within the prism of international politics around the Washington consensus, of dual-party system and democracy versus the emerging power of China. You see, we must look at ourselves, because we are kind of a mongrel. Our constitution is really a copy-paste of German, US, and South Africa. And that is actually where we get lost, because when you look at our structures of governance, they do not seem to be responding to the real desire of Kenyans, of moving the country forward in terms of development. And even if we were to change the constitution, let me just make this point. Even if we were to change the constitution, and we still get the old leaders, the kind of current leaders that we're talking about, without dealing with Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we'll just have new structures, and then people will just have increased their chance of putting their hand in the pot. So we need to ask ourselves, is the law really the problem? Is this really the law the problem? What is it we need to address so that we can move the country forward?
All right, Alice?
Yeah. I think the question was why our court seems to be under heavy attack, actually under missile attack from all these leading, I would call them leading party leaders or political leaders in the country. I think the only person who has not talked now is possibly the president and the deputy president. The question is very clear. Is our court on the right path, on the correct path in terms of what is within the Constitution? I would say yes. He has corrected his 1.2 million signatures. He has presented it to IEBC. They have done their work and forwarded to the county assemblies. You see what he's complaining about here. And then, of course, you have Mudavadi, you have Wetangula, you have the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And we are not hearing the issues they are raising against Punguza Mzigo. I think
that one of the issues has been the constituencies that has been raised by Mudavadi.
All the issues
let me finish because everybody has spoken when I was quiet.
Okay.
But you are pointing that they have raised. You see, those issues do not warrant this kind of attack. What we are saying is that, you know, the county assemblies have now even been stopped. There is an order. It's not that they cannot proceed. If you look at what you refer to as page 7 of People Daily, it says that the High Court in Nairobi temporarily stopped the 47 county assemblies from debating and approving the Punguza Mzigo bill.
Temporarily? What does it mean?
You know,
it's not permanent.
Now, Onyonka, please, can you stop interrupting my thoughts? I didn't interrupt yours, and I'm taking offense. You know, I'm taking offense. Can I get protection, Debarl?
Please,
I am saying
just let
the
her.
High Court has temporarily stopped. There is no need of underlining the word because I understand what temporarily means. But this is the point. You cannot, in fact, inject county assemblies and national assemblies. The court is operating outside its mandate. The minute this document was received by the assemblies and they started the process of moving it forward, from there on, the county assemblies should have been allowed to finish their work, and when their documentation and processes are finished, then maybe at that stage, before the document moves to the National Assembly, to Parliament, then stop it at that
level.
At that level. Because you see, the law is very clear. You know, these are independent institutions. The High Court, the court, judiciary does not want to be ridiculed, does not want to be stopped, you know, even by the executive. But then, how come the judiciary is actually conducting a coup against each and everything that Kenyans actually are doing? This, for me, and I really wish I could talk to the county assemblies in a manner that they would understand. You know, they are representatives of the people. Kenyans wanted Punguza Mzigo. This could actually be put to Kenyans and they decide. Of course, you know, the Punguza Mzigo is talking about increasing the revenue to the counties from 15 minimum threshold to 35%, which is not a bad thing, so that the executive would never think of going below 35.
Thank you.
So I think the big shots in this country, Manyora refers to as deep state.
The deep state.
Are shocked that somebody like Ekuru Aukot was able to do what they were unable to do. The BBI, I have said on this platform, and this is the point, that the BBI is actually an illegal outfit. And I have no, it's an illegal outfit because it's not anchored in law. You see, you cannot...
But wasn't there a gazette notice for the BBI?
What is a gazette notice? A gazette notice is supposed to be anchored on a legal framework.
Was Punguza Mzigo illegal?
Punguza Mzigo has followed the process in the Constitution.
Yeah, Punguza Mzigo,
the
BBI, you know, has actually...
Even for them to draw, you see the difference
is a cat before the horse.
The difference between, this is a popular, you know, let us not confuse Debarl. The difference between Punguza Mzigo is that they are going through popular initiative to start with, and they are using their own money.
Yes.
The BBI is drawing Kenyan money without any legal framework. And therefore, to that extent, that's why I'm saying
Right.
it's actually
So-
there is an illegality there,
Right.
and Kenyans need to understand. But because His Excellency the President and Raila Odinga are behind BBI, Manyora is happy to say it's okay. Where they were here, and even Onyonka, they are happy to say it's okay. Yeah, you know, these are the double standards.
BBI is actually on a spawning ground of illegality.
It is on the spot. The BBI is on the spot.
Is operating on a spawning ground of illegality. We are being told this one is a diversionary tactic. Someone can actually challenge BBI in court right now and say where we should be stopped.
You stopped me before finishing.
You didn't finish.
The last point was that the court gave an order, and I said that is actually going outside their mandate. But when our court went to court for similar orders against BBI, before the same judge applied double standards and with respect
before
to the
Judge Macau.
He is complaining here that he went
This
to the
is
High
page
Court.
7. If you may just let me try and
Page
see.
7.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Page 7 of the People Daily. We go
Yes.
back there.
Yes, our court is saying, page 7, the bottom 1, 2, 3, from right 1, 2, 3, 3 column, the last part
That
of
is
that story.
oppose initiative.
Our court wondered why. That's the first column of his story.
I'm trying
At
to
the
figure.
bottom.
At the bottom.
Yes. A court wondered why the case he filed, seeking to have BBI disbanded before the same judge had not been heard.
So he
That's
says,
a very important point there he's raising.
all right, so
The
he says
same
here,
judge-
until now, they have refused to hear even an application
Exactly.
for
You
a
see,
conservative order.
conservatory
order, he claimed.
So he's saying this judge should actually face disciplinary action through
Debarl.
the JSC.
And that's why we need a referendum law.
Just a
We
moment.
need a
Just a moment.
referendum law.
I think Alice is presenting a very germane, valid concern.
It's really a concern.
It was actually the same case, but a different script is different figureheads right now. Since it was him presenting and challenging BBI that is not really anchored on any law in this country.
Yeah.
Why then should he go full steam ahead and stop even
His
hearing
own process.
the whole process from the counties, Herman?
So we don't have a referendum law
Exactly.
in
That's the
conclusion,
problem.
and it is a problem because the referendum law, all these things are being done. Actually, the IBC should have by now presented to us a referendum law so that we can prosecute it, so that we can understand the process.
Alice is taking this to be akin to a coup, by the courts of any popular initiative that is being presented there by sincere Kenyans.
I think I have said this before, and allow me to repeat just quickly that there are people who call the shots, and they are uncomfortable with the punguza gunia or punguza mzigo.
But my question is, you sound like you've already sounded a death knell on this.
Alice thinks I support it. I'm just saying what I know to be true, and the hurdles will be put in the way. This is just the beginning. And I'm not saying the hurdles are being put in the way by the president or Raila or anybody else. I'm just saying there are people who call the shots. They may be from all corners of this country.
But Armand, you're not
now,
helping.
I agree.
You are not helping Kenyans.
I am helping Kenyans by telling them.
You're telling them, yes, that this is the situation on the ground. There is deep state.
Yes.
So we are caught up in that for us. We cannot do anything.
You cannot. It's not that you cannot do anything.
So actually, this is a cut and dry, cast in stone. Since now
I have always
we have this particular bill, it will not really fly. But BBI's referendum
I have
bill
said this
will fly.
before. I have said this just to clarify what you are saying. I've said this before, that there are people who call the shots. Some of them, people call them the deep state. Okay? They mess countries, not just Kenya. The closest to us was the Gupta family and the rest, and other members of the deep state in South Africa. They decide who becomes finance minister, who doesn't, who should leave government, and they are not government.
But their interests are?
They are very paramount.
What are their interests?
Now, I have advised leaders in this country, both in business and in politics, that it is in their interest to moderate what they do. I've even said then we may allow them to continue stealing, but with the moderation. People may not understand what I mean. I am saying when they do things like this, including trying to stifle the punguza mzigo, they should know what they are putting themselves into. That it gets to a point, because the people under normal circumstances, including voting, cannot change leadership. But if you push it too far, I must make myself clear, you then leave people with no other option. And even the president has alluded to this. other than move and impeach the people in the streets through a revolution. So I made myself very clear. And I'm only saying both sides. I know how weak the side of the people is.
So that is.
And I'm warning those who think they have power that it is not in their interest in the long run to push the people too far. So if there's something like this Punguza Mzigo, they should have more civil ways of fighting it. You see what I'm saying? But I'm also saying the reality on the ground is such that they will stop this. Now, I agree with Alice about the court intervention. One, because there are clear timelines. A court has 90 days to process these things through the county assemblies. So if you eat into that time,
you're scuttling the whole process.
You're already messing up the process. You see, when there are clear constitutional timelines for something, you must be careful as a court not to stop something. You get it? So I agree with that.
So how do you come up with this judgment? Yet it is very clearly stipulated in the Constitution that yes, the 90 days.
90 days are there. So you are eating into them.
Yeah, you're actually eating into it.
And you are eating into them when a similar matter was brought before you, you pretended it was not urgent. Many months later, you still even haven't started hearing it. So you raise, people say, no, there must be something wrong with this judge.
So is a legal way to try and scuttle the whole process.
But I agree with Alice, it is wrong because of the clear timelines
given.
And you are eating into those days.
All right.
Yeah.
But
is it Isaac or is you?
It is me.
Okay, all right. Okay, Richard.
To me, I think the issue is it's very simple. Why do I say it is very simple? We have a recommendation of one group which is bringing up changes into the governance structure of this country, allocation of resources and all that. There is another team that feels there is another system that we need to introduce, and there are reasons for both sides. What my argument is, and I completely disagree with Professor Manyora that there's a deep state, and therefore the deep state is the one which is actually going to come up with the BBI and is the one which is going to create ABCD. Even if that was the case,
but
what stops you not to imagine that the opposite of the deep state is the one actually which is babysitting the Punguza Mzigo initiative? Nothing. In other words, Kenya is basically a country where politically we have got different forces which are against each other for whatever reasons, whether some people say this is about the 2022 elections. I'll give you an example. If you look at what Aukot is saying in his interview again, which is on page 7, is that this whole exercise in the collecting of the views is going to take 10 billion shillings. Not true. The amount of money that, because I'm in the budget committee, the first year they were given 100 million. The second year, which was this year, they've been given 132 million. That is the committee of the Wazes, the team which was appointed, and they're going around. My argument is, it is wrong to stop Punguza Mzigo, and it is wrong to rubbish BBI. My argument is that we have got two forces in this country, like it was during the Wako draft, like it was the Bomas draft, like it was the current constitution that we have. The mess we have right now is because of the antagonism and disagreement which came out when these discussions were taking place about our constitution. The issues whether the Senate should be the upper house or the lower house. How much money are we supposed to give to the county governments? So my point is, finally, I want to finish this debate.
Yeah. This will mark as your closing remarks as well?
Yes, my point is, I don't think that there is need for the whole exercise of Punguza Mzigo and BBI to be mutually exclusive. They can actually be mutually inclusive.
Mutually inclusive?
Yes.
So we should not
that you can pick good items from Punguza Mzigo and pick good items from BBI and then allow synthesize and then pick what is good for the country.
Thank you. What is a hula baloo? Because I think this is not really cast in stone, Isaac Maura, as we're winding up. We can always course correct along the way, and that's why we actually presenting this maybe a court before the county assemblies as well. So why should we actually be beating it down to the ground? Yet it's something that can be amended along the way.
No, you can't change even a comma.
You cannot really change. That is what I want to understand.
I think it's because this is not their baby.
It is not their baby.
So if it's not our baby, we must kill it. But at the same time, the same way somebody has gone to court to actually muzzle legislatures at the county level from debating, is the same way even BBI will face similar hurdles if we do not have a referendum law. And this is very important, and Kenyans need to take that. But I also see as a problem around the issue of political gerrymandering. from my own analysis, you need at least 7 months for a referendum to happen in this country. But then you have the shifting nexus of power. I don't want to call it center of power, nexus of power, especially with the coming into place of the handshake. Because every political move has a motive. Every political move has a motive. So what is the political motive? And that is something that people need to, ask themselves about this. If you look at, for example, Punguza Mzigo, Dr. Ekuru Aukot would have benefited the country by first, conversing on the issues, so that then, for example, how do you tell Kenyans that you are going to have 2 MPs per county? So a county like my county, Kiambu, with 1.1 million voters, will have the same number of members of parliament like Isiolo with 150,000 voters. That is totally unacceptable. Or Nairobi with 4 million residents. So the issues were not canvassed because, of course, he wanted to hide under what Professor Manyora is calling the deep state, the owners of the country.
Thank you.
And that is where the problem is. Maybe because also you're asking me to say the final things. Is number 2, I want just to say that there has been some fire in Ruiru town, the Madai supermarket and Equity Bank. Pole for all the people who have lost their lives and their jobs, and also the ones who have lost the property. And also, finally, this issue of referendum has a challenge around the issues of budget. And Mheshimiwa Nyonka, the incoming governor, has said about it is not budgeted for. I don't know where that money is going to come from. And in the census also, because we're going to spend money, I would really want to urge Debarl.
You're jumbling up a lot of stuff. No. We need to wind up.
No, please,
on the referendum. No. We stop for time.
Yeah,
we'll pick up on the referendum next week, please. Let's hear from Alice.
Thank you. I think, Debarl, that the only lawful, other people and outside, we can actually lobby and lobby for support or against support for the Punguza Mzigo, because it's, of course, a constitutional document. It is a document that also has a lot of politics in it. But I think that it would be wrong to stop them from moving, the counties debating. I think we should have allowed the debates to take place. The courts should release this document back to the counties, where the debate and the decision should be made by our 47 county assemblies, and we should trust that they will actually make the right decision. And of course, anybody who is interested in persuading either for or against, then should actually go to the county
Fair
assemblies.
to Hamad Manyora.
Let me use my 5 seconds.
5 seconds, please.
To talk about what happened on Friday and Saturday. The traffic snarled up at around that Gilgil place. That road ought to be reconstructed. Instead of going to the Mombasa and coming up with another highway, Mombasa already has SGR. We should concentrate on the Nakuru, Nairobi highway, dual it. But then again, people who start repairing a road at the wrong time, schools are closing. That is wrong. I think we must be sensitive.
I wish
to our own people.
Just say one
right, thank you. No. We need to close. And of course, you need also to grab maybe the standard for this particular story. We've not even put it to our panelists to discuss this. Maybe some VIPs will be named. If you may pick up the standard. Sonko threatens to name VIPs who abandon their children. Governor's staff claims they have received accusations against 16 elected leaders. And he says he's going to be doing that today. So if you're a leader and you know that you have Mpango Wakando, you've not declared your child yet, all right, just keep out your ears and, of course, keep your eyes peeled as far as this is concerned. Governor Sonko will be announcing that.
People who live in glass houses.
You can read all the details in the Standard today. Thank you so much for your valued company. I can see a lot of tweets. We stop for time, but thank you also nonetheless for contributing. And we leave it at that. Living with Us is up next.